The story begins with a relentless advance by the Void, a formidable enemy composed of bioorganic horror, sweeping through the outer solar system of Lura. The Void's invasion is marked by an overwhelming and unceasing assault that quickly devastates Lura's first line of defense. This first line consists of a network of automated sentry stations orbiting the outermost planets of Lura's system. These sentry stations, although equipped with advanced energy cannons designed to deter opportunistic raiders, are no match for the sheer numbers and relentless aggression of the Void. The energy cannons, though advanced, cannot keep up with the never-ending swarms of Void bioorganic ships. The stations fall swiftly, their defenses breached and their automated systems overwhelmed. Following the fall of the sentry stations, the Void presses deeper into the Lura system, encountering the second line of defense, orbital fortresses. These fortresses are massive, bristling with heavy weaponry, and manned by seasoned veterans of Lura's military. These orbital stations represent the pinnacle of Lura's defensive capabilities, with their cannons roaring in defiance as they unleash volleys of energy bolts and missiles at the advancing Void fleet. Despite their formidable defenses and the valiant efforts of their crews, the fortresses fare little better than the sentry stations. The Void's sheer numbers and relentless assault prove to be too overwhelming. One by one, the fortresses succumb to the onslaught. Their hulls are breached by the relentless attacks, and their crews are overrun by the unceasing swarms of Void bioorganic entities. As the Void forces penetrate further into the Lura system, the starfighters of Lura engage in a desperate dance of death. These sleek and agile fighters, piloted by Lura's renowned pilots, take to the skies to defend their home. The Lura pilots are celebrated for their precision and tactical acumen, fighting with unmatched skill and courage. Their energy cannons carve fiery paths through the enemy ranks, illuminating the dark void of space with each shot. However, the starfighters of Void are grotesque amalgamations of flesh and metal, relentless in their pursuit. They swarm in overwhelming numbers, each wave replacing the fallen with new bioorganic constructs. Despite the superior skills of Lura's pilots, the endless swarms of Void fighters slowly but surely gain the upper hand. The Lura pilots, though fighting valiantly, are gradually outmatched by the relentless and unending tide of Void forces. In the heart of Lura Prime, the Council of Elders, the governing body of Lura, watches in horror as the catastrophe unfolds. The holographic displays in the Chamber of Harmony depict the grim reality of the situation. The serene faces of the Elders, once symbols of peace and wisdom, are now etched with grim determination and growing despair. Elder Lyra, with a voice trembling with emotion, laments the dire state of their defenses. "We cannot hold them back," she cries. "Our defenses are failing, our warriors are falling, and our home world is in grave danger." Elder Orion, however, refuses to give up hope. "We must not give up hope," he declares resolutely. "We have always been a resourceful and resilient people. We must find a way to survive this onslaught. But what can we do?" Elder Lyra asks, her voice laced with desperation. "We are no match for the Void's overwhelming might." Elder Orion pauses, his eyes scanning the faces of his fellow elders. "We must send out a distress signal," he says, his voice barely a whisper. "Perhaps there are others in the galaxy who can come to our aid." With heavy hearts, the elders make the difficult decision to send out a distress signal, a plea for help echoing through the vast expanse of space. They wait, their hopes dwindling with each passing moment, as the signal travels through the galaxy. Time seems to stretch endlessly as they cling to the fragile hope that someone, somewhere, will hear their call. Just when hope seems to be all but lost, a transmission crackles through the communication system. A deep, resolute voice declares, "This is Admiral Bailey of the Human Systems Alliance. We've received your distress call, Lura. Sit tight, human warship incoming." The announcement of Admiral Bailey's arrival brings a glimmer of hope to the beleaguered people of Lura. The humans, known for their tenacity and advanced military technology, represent a new beacon of hope in Lura's darkest hour. The prospect of human warships arriving to aid in their defense lifts the spirits of the Lura warriors and civilians alike. The stage is set for a monumental clash between the forces of the Void and the combined might of Lura and the Human Systems Alliance. As the human fleet approaches, the Lura people brace themselves for the next phase of the battle, their resolve strengthened by the promise of reinforcements. In the aftermath of the devastating initial assault, the Council of Elders of Lura, the planet's governing body, convenes in a state of dire urgency. The Chamber of Harmony, usually a place of serene deliberation and wisdom, is now filled with the grim faces of the Elders, etched with lines of worry and determination. Elder Lyra, her voice trembling with emotion, articulates the fear gripping them all: we cannot hold them back. Our defenses are failing, our warriors are falling, and our home world is in grave danger. Her words hang heavy in the air, a stark acknowledgement of the overwhelming might of the Void forces that are steadily decimating their defenses. Despite the mounting despair, Elder Orion, known for his steadfast resolve, refuses to succumb to hopelessness. We must not give up hope, he declares firmly, his voice a beacon of resolve amidst the growing darkness. We have always been a resourceful and resilient people. We must find a way to survive this onslaught. His words are met with a mix of desperation and determination, as the elders grapple with the seemingly insurmountable odds. But what can we do? Elder Lyra asks, her voice laced with desperation. We are no match for the Void's overwhelming might. The silence that follows is heavy, punctuated only by the distant sounds of battle and the hum of the holographic displays showing the dire situation unfolding across their system. Elder Orion, after a moment of contemplation, speaks again, his voice now a whisper of hope. We must send out a distress signal. Perhaps there are others in the galaxy who can come to our aid. The decision to seek external help is not taken lightly, for Lura has long prided itself on its self-reliance and peacekeeping efforts. However, faced with the annihilation of their civilization, the elders understand that they must set aside their pride and seek assistance. With heavy hearts, they transmit a distress signal, a plea for help that echoes through the vast expanse of space. The signal is a digital SOS, encoded with the urgency of their plight and broadcast on all available frequencies. As it travels through the galaxy, the elders wait, their hopes dwindling with each passing moment. The tension in the chamber is palpable, each second stretching into what feels like an eternity as they cling to the fragile hope that someone, somewhere, will hear their call and come to their aid. Just when hope seems to be all but lost, a transmission crackles through the communication system, cutting through the silence like a beacon of light. A deep, resolute voice declares, "This is Admiral Bailey of the Human Systems Alliance. We've received your distress call, Lura. Sit tight, human warship incoming." The relief that washes over the elders is profound, a collective sigh of hope and gratitude filling the chamber. The announcement of Admiral Bailey's arrival brings a glimmer of hope to the beleaguered people of Lura. The humans, known throughout the galaxy for their tenacity and advanced military technology, represent a new beacon of hope in Lura's darkest hour. The prospect of human warships arriving to aid in their defense lifts the spirits of the Lura warriors and civilians alike, infusing them with renewed resolve and determination. Admiral Bailey, a seasoned veteran with a reputation for strategic brilliance and unyielding resolve, quickly mobilizes his fleet. Aboard the HSS Indomitable, the flagship of the Human Systems Alliance, he stands tall, his imposing figure casting a long shadow across the holographic tactical display. The display pulses with a kaleidoscope of data, providing a real-time representation of the unfolding conflict in the Lura system. His officers, their faces etched with a mix of determination and grim anticipation, await his orders. "Captain," Bailey barks, his voice echoing through the bridge, "give me a full tactical assessment. What are we up against?" Captain Michaels, a seasoned veteran with a distinguished service record, steps forward. "Admiral," he begins, his voice steady, "the Void Fleet is vast, comprised of a variety of bioorganic vessels, seemingly adapted for specific roles. Their starfighters are fast and maneuverable, but their pilots lack discipline and tactical coherence. And their capital ships?" Bailey inquires, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. "Their capital ships are the real threat," Michaels replies. "They're heavily armed and shielded, and their organic nature makes them incredibly resilient. They seem to possess a form of collective consciousness, coordinating their attacks with an eerie efficiency." Bailey nods, absorbing the information. "Intelligence," he says, turning to his intelligence officer, Lieutenant Singh. "What do we know about the Void's origins and motives?" Singh, a young officer with a sharp mind and a keen eye for detail, clears her throat. "Sir," she begins, "the Void is a relatively new player on the galactic stage. They emerged from the uncharted depths of the Peris Arm, conquering and assimilating countless civilizations along the way. Their motives are unclear, but their actions suggest a desire for galactic domination." "A desire for domination, huh?" Bailey muses. "Sounds familiar." He turns back to the tactical display, his mind racing. "The Void is a formidable foe, unlike anything the humans have encountered before. But the Lura, a peaceful and technologically advanced civilization, are counting on them." Bailey knows that the stakes are high, but he also knows that his crew is more than capable of rising to the challenge. "Gentlemen," he declares, his voice ringing with confidence, "we have a fight on our hands. A fight for the survival of Lura and for the future of the galaxy. We will not fail them. Prepare for combat." The bridge crew snaps to attention, their eyes gleaming with determination. The Indomitable, its engines thrumming with power, surges forward, its course set for the Lura system. As the human fleet approaches, the stage is set for a monumental clash between the forces of the Void and the combined might of Lura, and the Human Systems Alliance. The Lura people brace themselves for the next phase of the battle, their resolve strengthened by the promise of reinforcements and the arrival of their human allies. Aboard the HSS Indomitable, the atmosphere is charged with a palpable tension as Admiral Bailey and his crew prepare for the impending clash with the Void forces. The bridge, a hive of activity, hums with the sound of communications and the steady beep of tactical displays. Admiral Bailey stands at the helm, his tall and imposing figure a pillar of strength and resolve. The holographic tactical display in front of him pulses with a kaleidoscope of data, depicting the unfolding conflict in the Lura system with startling clarity. His officers, seasoned veterans all, move with a practiced efficiency, their faces etched with a mix of determination and grim anticipation. "Captain," Bailey's voice cuts through the din, steady and authoritative, "give me a full tactical assessment. What are we up against?" Captain Michaels steps forward, his posture crisp and alert. "Admiral," he begins, "the Void Fleet is vast and highly diverse, comprised of a variety of bioorganic vessels adapted for specific combat roles. Their starfighters are fast and agile, but they lack the discipline and tactical coherence of our pilots." Bailey's eyes narrow as he processes this information. "And their capital ships?" he inquires, his gaze fixed on the holographic display. "Their capital ships are the real threat," Michaels replies. "Heavily armed and shielded, these ships possess a remarkable resilience due to their organic construction. They appear to operate with a form of collective consciousness, coordinating their attacks with an unnerving precision." Bailey nods thoughtfully, his mind already formulating a strategy. He turns to Lieutenant Commander Singh, his intelligence officer, a young but astute officer known for her sharp mind and keen analytical skills. "Singh," he commands, "what do we know about the Void's origins and their motives?" Singh clears her throat, and begins her report. Sir, the Void is a relatively new presence on the galactic stage. They emerged from the uncharted depths of the Perisarm, systematically conquering and assimilating numerous civilizations along their path. While their exact motives remain unclear, their actions suggest an overarching ambition for galactic domination. Bailey's brow furrows in contemplation. A desire for domination, he muses, not unlike some of our own historical adversaries. His gaze returns to the tactical display, now showing the intricate formation of the Void fleet. The stakes are high, but Bailey's confidence in his crew is unwavering. "Gentlemen," he declares, his voice filled with a steely resolve, "we have a fight on our hands, a fight for the survival of Lura, and the future of the galaxy. We will not fail them. Prepare for combat." As the command echoes through the bridge, the crew snaps to attention, their eyes alight with determination. The Indomitable's engines roar to life, a deep, resonant hum that reverberates through the hull. The massive warship surges forward, its sleek form cutting through the void of space with lethal grace. Surrounding it, the rest of the Human Systems Alliance fleet falls into formation, each ship primed and ready for the imminent battle. The approach to the Lura system is swift, and as they near the outer reaches, the sensors on the Indomitable pick up the presence of the Void fleet. The bioorganic vessels pulse and writhe in the darkness, a grotesque and formidable force arrayed against them. Bailey's lips curl into a grim smile. "Showtime, gentlemen," he says. "Let's give these bastards a taste of human fury." The order to engage is given, and the human fleet springs into action. Railguns and energy cannons fire in unison, unleashing a torrent of destructive power upon the Void ships. The initial salvos catch the Void off guard, their energy shields flickering under the relentless assault. Despite their resilience, the coordinated and concentrated fire from the human ships begins to take its toll. The bridge crew works tirelessly, coordinating attacks and managing defenses with a precision honed through countless simulations and real-world engagements. As the battle intensifies, the Indomitable targets one of the Void's capital ships, a behemoth bristling with weaponry and pulsating with a sickly, bioluminescent glow. "Ramirez," Bailey calls to his weapons officer, "prepare a strike on their capital ship. Target its weapon systems first, then its shield generators. I want that ship crippled and vulnerable." Lieutenant Commander Ramirez, known for his pinpoint accuracy and unflinching composure under fire, acknowledges the order with a curt nod. His fingers dance across the controls, programming the ship's weapons for the assault. The Indomitable's forward batteries rotate into position, their barrels glowing with the buildup of energy. "Fire," Bailey commands, and a blinding barrage of energy erupts from the Indomitable, streaking across the void to strike the Void capital ship. The initial impact is devastating. The Void ships' shields flicker and fail, the concentrated fire overwhelming their defenses. Energy bolts slam into the organic hull, igniting fires and triggering a series of catastrophic explosions. The Void capital ship, mortally wounded, begins to break apart, its bioluminescent glow fading as its life force ebbs away. The destruction of the capital ship sends shockwaves through the Void fleet. The other bioorganic vessels, sensing the death of their leader, recoil in shock and confusion. Bailey watches the spectacle unfold with grim satisfaction. "That's one down," he says. "Now let's finish the job." The battle rages on, a maelstrom of energy and fury. The human fleet, leveraging their superior technology and tactical acumen, systematically dismantles the Void's formations. Despite their overwhelming numbers, the Void are outmatched and outmaneuvered at every turn. Their starfighters fall in droves, their capital ships crippled and destroyed. Yet the Void, driven by an insatiable thirst for conquest, refuse to yield. They fight with a ferocity born of desperation, their bioorganic vessels, swarming the human ships in a last-ditch effort to turn the tide. The Indomitable, its shields shimmering under the onslaught, weathers the storm. Its point defense systems blaze with activity, intercepting and destroying incoming projectiles with deadly precision. The crew, their faces etched with determination, work tirelessly to maintain their defenses and keep their weapons firing. Admiral Bailey, his eyes fixed on the tactical display, knows that the battle is far from over. The Void, though battered and bruised, remain a formidable foe. But he also knows that his crew, the finest in the human systems alliance, will not rest until the enemy is vanquished. With the tide of battle slowly turning in their favor, Bailey issues his next command. Lieutenant Commander Singh, he calls, status update on the Void flagship. Singh, her fingers flying across the controls, quickly analyzes the incoming data. Sir, she reports, the flagship is a Behemoth-class bioorganic vessel, heavily armed and shielded. It appears to be the nerve center of the fleet, coordinating their attacks and providing tactical support. Bailey's eyes narrow with determination. Can we take it out? He asks. Singh hesitates for a moment, considering the odds. It will be difficult, sir, she replies. But if we can disable its command and control systems, we might be able to disrupt the Void's coordination and turn the tide of the battle. Bailey's lips curl into a determined smile. Difficult but not impossible, he says. Ramirez, prepare a concentrated attack on the flagship. Target its command and control systems first, then its shield generators. I want that ship crippled and vulnerable. As the Indomitable and the rest of the human fleet focus their fire on the Void flagship, the stage is set for the final, decisive confrontation. The flagship, sensing the concentrated assault, attempts to rally the remaining Void forces. But the coordinated and relentless fire from the human ships proves too much. One by one, the Void's systems fail, their once formidable coordination crumbling under the sustained assault. The flagship, its bioluminescent glow flickering and fading, begins to break apart. The Void fleet, now leaderless and disoriented, falls into disarray. Admiral Bailey watches with a mix of satisfaction and relief as the human fleet presses the attack, systematically dismantling the remaining Void vessels. With the battle nearing its conclusion, Bailey issues his final command. Jackson, he says to his communications officer, send a message to all ships. The flagship is down. Press the attack and finish this. The human fleet, their spirits soaring, redouble their efforts. Their weapons blaze as they hunt down the remaining Void vessels, the tide of battle decisively turned in their favor. The once formidable Void fleet is now a scattered and disorganized rabble, their dream of galactic domination shattered by the combined might of Lura and the Human Systems Alliance. As the last remnants of the Void fleet are destroyed, the human and Lura forces stand victorious, their alliance forged in the fires of battle, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy may bring. As the HSS Indomitable, and the rest of the Human Systems Alliance fleet surged into the Lura system, the tactical situation rapidly evolved into a full-scale engagement. Admiral Bailey, his mind a fortress of tactical acumen and battlefield experience, issued rapid-fire commands to his bridge crew. The target of their concentrated fire was one of the Void's capital ships, a behemoth of bioorganic construction bristling with weaponry and pulsating with a sinister, bioluminescent glow. This vessel, a nerve center for the Void's coordinated attacks, loomed ominously in the tactical display, its position central to the Void fleet's formation. Ramirez, Bailey's voice cut through the tense atmosphere, prepare a strike on their capital ship. Target its weapon systems first, then its shield generators. I want that ship crippled and vulnerable. Lieutenant Commander Ramirez, known for his pinpoint accuracy and calm demeanor under pressure, nodded sharply. His fingers flew over the controls, programming the Indomitable's formidable array of railguns and energy cannons for the assault. The Indomitable's forward batteries, a lethal array of weaponry, rotated into position with a smooth, mechanical precision. The barrels glowed with the buildup of destructive energy, ready to unleash their fury. "Fire!" Bailey commanded, his voice unwavering. In an instant, a blinding barrage of energy erupted from the Indomitable, streaking across the void to slam into the Void capital ship. The initial impact was devastating. The Void ship's shields, though advanced, flickered and failed under the relentless onslaught. Energy bolts tore through the organic armor, igniting fires and triggering a series of catastrophic explosions. The Void capital ship, mortally wounded, began to break apart, its bioluminescent glow fading as its life force ebbed away. The destruction of the capital ship sent shockwaves through the Void fleet. The other bioorganic vessels, sensing the death of their leader, recoiled in shock and confusion. This momentary lapse in coordination provided the opening the human fleet needed. "That's one down," Bailey muttered, a grim smile tugging at his lips. "Now let's finish the job." The order to press the attack rippled through the fleet, and the Human Systems Alliance ships surged forward with renewed vigor. Railguns and energy cannons fired in unison, unleashing a relentless barrage that systematically dismantled the Void's formations. Meanwhile, the starfighters of the human fleet engaged the swarming Void fighters in a deadly ballet. The human pilots, their skill honed through rigorous training and countless engagements, darted through the chaos with lethal precision. Lieutenant Emily Chen, call sign Phoenix, piloted her F-22 Raptor with unmatched agility. Her eyes scanned the battlefield, identifying clusters of Void fighters and unleashing volleys of missiles with pinpoint accuracy. Each explosion lit up the darkness, another enemy fighter sent spiraling into the Void. "Scratch 3, Chen announced over the comm system, her voice crackling with static. "Who's next?" Her wingman, Lieutenant Alex Ramirez, call sign Razor, banked his fighter sharply to avoid a volley of energy blasts from a Void fighter. "Phoenix, I've got one on my tail," he called out, his voice strained. "Can you give me some cover?" "On my way, Razor," Chen replied, her fighter streaking towards Ramirez's position. She unleashed a barrage of cannon fire, the energy bolts ripping through the Void fighter's hull, and sending it tumbling out of control. "Thanks, Phoenix," Ramirez said, his voice filled with relief. "Let's keep up the pressure." Back on the Indomitable, Admiral Bailey's tactical display provided a real-time overview of the battlefield. The coordinated efforts of the human fleet were beginning to turn the tide. The Void, though resilient and numerous, were being systematically dismantled by the superior technology and tactics of the Human Systems Alliance. Bailey's eyes narrowed as he focused on the largest remaining Void capital ship. "Ramirez," he called out, "prepare another strike. Target that capital ship. I want it out of the fight." The Indomitable's weapons hummed to life once more, energy coursing through their conduits. The ship's forward batteries, a formidable array of railguns and energy cannons, rotated towards their target, their barrels glowing with a deadly heat. "Fire," Bailey commanded, and another blinding barrage of energy erupted from the Indomitable, striking the Void capital ship with unrelenting force. The ship's energy shields, already weakened by previous attacks, collapsed under the onslaught. The railgun projectiles and energy bolts tore into the ship's hull, causing catastrophic damage. The Void capital ship, its bioluminescent glow flickering and fading, began to break apart, its organic structure unable to withstand the punishment. The other Void vessels, sensing the death of another leader, faltered in their attacks. The human fleet pressed their advantage, their weapons blazing as they hunted down the remaining Void vessels. The coordinated fire from the Human Systems Alliance ships proved too much for the Void's decentralized command structure. One by one, the Void ships were destroyed, their bioorganic forms reduced to drifting debris. As the last remnants of the Void fleet were eliminated, a sense of relief washed over the human and Lura forces. The battle, though hard fought, had been decisively won. The Indomitable, its hull scarred from the fierce engagement, stood as a testament to the tenacity and resilience of its crew. Admiral Bailey, his face etched with the strain of command, allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. "Good work, everyone," he said, his voice filled with pride. "We've shown the Void the true strength of humanity and our allies. Now, let's ensure they never threaten Lura again." With the immediate threat neutralized, the human and Lura forces turned their attention to the aftermath of the battle. The task of securing the Lura system and rebuilding what had been destroyed began in earnest. The alliance between the humans and the Lura, forged in the crucible of battle, would now focus on ensuring a lasting peace and preventing any future incursions by the Void or any other hostile force. The victory in the Lura system was not just a triumph of military might, but a testament to the power of cooperation, and the unbreakable spirit of those who stand together against the darkness. As the tides of battle shifted in space, the focus of the Human Systems Alliance and Lura's joint forces turned to the dire situation unfolding on the surface of Lura Prime. Admiral Bailey, recognizing the urgency of the ground conflict, issued immediate orders for a full deployment of human marines to support the beleaguered Lura defenders. Aboard the HSS Indomitable, the hangar bays buzzed with frenetic activity as squads of marines donned their advanced combat armor and prepared for insertion. These soldiers, seasoned through countless engagements, moved with a practiced efficiency, their faces set with grim determination. The air was thick with the hum of engines and the clatter of equipment as dropships were prepped for launch. Sergeant Major Thomas Hammer Harrison, a veteran of innumerable battles, stood at the forefront, his stern visage embodying the resolve of his troops. He checked his pulse rifle one last time, ensuring it was ready for the brutal combat ahead. The dropships, sleek and heavily armored, descended through the smoke-filled skies of Lura Prime, engines roaring with defiance. The planet below, once a beacon of peace and prosperity, was now a battlefield scarred by the relentless onslaught of the Void. The Marines braced themselves as the dropships touched down in a hail of dust and debris, the hatches slamming open to reveal a scene of utter chaos. The once pristine cities were now reduced to ruins, the air thick with the acrid smell of smoke and burning flesh, a grim testament to the Void's brutal campaign. The Marines, their movements swift and disciplined, poured out of the dropships and took up defensive positions, their eyes scanning for any sign of the enemy. "Eyes peeled, Marines," Hammer's voice barked through their helmets. "We're in hostile territory. Stay frosty." The squad, led by Hammer, moved out, their boots crunching on the shattered crystal of the ruined city. The ruins, once a testament to Lura's advanced and peaceful civilization, were now a stark reminder of the stakes of this conflict. As they advanced, the Marines encountered pockets of Lura resistance fighters, their armor battered and spirits weary, yet their resolve unbroken. The human Marines and Lura fighters quickly established a rapport, their shared goal of protecting the civilians and driving back the Void fostering an unspoken bond. The Marines soon found themselves engaged in fierce firefights with Void warriors. These grotesque bioorganic creatures, armed with deadly natural weaponry, surged from the shadows with a ferocity that belied their monstrous forms. Energy blasts and pulse rifle fire crisscrossed the streets, illuminating the darkened alleyways with brief flashes of deadly light. The Marines, their advanced armor providing a crucial edge, methodically cleared buildings and secured perimeters, pushing the Void forces back inch by bloody inch. The combat was brutal and unrelenting, each skirmish a desperate struggle for survival. In one particularly intense encounter, the Marines stumbled upon a group of Lura civilians huddled in a makeshift shelter. Their faces were pale and drawn, eyes wide with fear. Among them were children clutching at their parents, and elderly Lura offering silent prayers to the universe. The sight of these innocents, caught in the crossfire of a war they did not ask for, steeled the Marines' resolve even further. Hammer, seeing the terror in their eyes, knew they had to act swiftly. "We're here to help," he assured them, his voice amplified by his helmet speakers. "We'll get you to safety." Just as the Marines began to evacuate the civilians, a group of Void warriors burst into the open, claws and fangs bared. The Marines responded with disciplined precision, pulse rifles, spitting bolts of energy that tore through the advancing foes. "Frag out," Hammer shouted, tossing a grenade that exploded in a brilliant flash, neutralizing the immediate threat. The civilians, now somewhat reassured by the Marines' prowess, began to move more swiftly, guided to the relative safety of a fortified position. Meanwhile, in other parts of Lura Prime, the Marines and Lura resistance fighters engaged in a deadly game of cat and mouse with Void forces entrenched in key strategic locations. In the lush forests of Sylvana, Lura Rangers, masters of stealth and marksmanship, waged a guerrilla war against the Void's ground troops. Clad in camouflage cloaks and armed with silent energy rifles, they ambushed the enemy from the shadows, picking off their foes one by one. The Void creatures, accustomed to overwhelming their opponents with sheer numbers, were frustrated and disoriented by the hit-and-run tactics of the Lura Rangers. In the depths of the Cerulean Sea, Lura submarines, sleek and silent, hunted the Void's aquatic vessels. These bioorganic nightmares, resembling monstrous jellyfish with tentacles lined with razor-sharp spines, prowled the depths. The Lura submarines, equipped with advanced sonar and torpedoes, stalked their prey with nerves of steel, launching precise and devastating attacks that lit up the underwater darkness with eerie explosions. Each victory in these diverse theaters of combat was hard-fought, a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of the Lura people and their human allies. Despite the valiant efforts of the joint forces, the situation on the ground remained precarious. Reports of widespread civilian casualties and Void atrocities filtered in, painting a grim picture of the horrors unfolding across Lura Prime. The Void, driven by an insatiable thirst for conquest, showed no mercy, slaughtering civilians and leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. The Marines, witnessing the aftermath of these atrocities, were filled with a cold fury. This wasn't just a battle for territory, it was a fight for the very soul of a civilization. As the sun set over the war-torn landscape, casting long shadows over the ruins, the Marines and Lura fighters regrouped, and fortified their positions. The night would bring no respite, as Void forces continued their relentless assault. But the defenders, united by a common cause and buoyed by the knowledge that they were not alone, held the line. They fought not just for survival, but for the hope that Lura could once again be a place of peace and prosperity. Admiral Bailey, monitoring the ground operations from the bridge of the Indomitable, knew that the battle for Lura Prime was far from over. But he also knew that the combined might of the Human Systems Alliance and the Lura Resistance was a formidable force. The fight on the surface was brutal and bloody, but it was a necessary stand against an enemy that sought to extinguish the light of an entire civilization. As the night wore on, the Marines and their Lura allies steeled themselves for the battles yet to come, their hearts filled with a fierce determination to protect their home and reclaim their future. With the initial waves of the Void's invasion blunted both in space and on the ground, the focus of the Human Systems Alliance and Lura's joint forces shifted towards a comprehensive and coordinated effort to reclaim Lura Prime, and eradicate the remaining Void presence. This monumental task required the collaboration of human technological prowess and Lura's intimate knowledge of their home world's diverse terrains. The battle-hardened Marines and Lura resistance fighters, now united by a shared purpose, prepared for a multifaceted assault aimed at rooting out the Void from every corner of the planet. In the crystalline cities, where towering structures had once gleamed with the promise of progress and peace, now lay in ruins, the remnants of Void forces had entrenched themselves within the devastated urban landscape. Admiral Bailey, overseeing the operation from the bridge of the HSS Indomitable, convened a strategic meeting with Elder Orion, and other key leaders. "We must combine our strengths," Bailey stated, his voice resolute. Our advanced weaponry and tactical systems, paired with your deep understanding of Lura's geography and architecture, will give us the edge we need." Elder Orion nodded, his face a mask of determination. "We know every alley and hidden passage in our cities. Our people have fought bravely, but we lack the heavy firepower your forces bring. Together, we can drive these invaders out." The plan was set into motion. Human Marines, equipped with state-of-the-art combat gear and supported by armored vehicles, coordinated with Lura's urban fighters to systematically clear each sector of the cities. The combined forces moved through the labyrinthine streets, engaging in brutal house-to-house fighting against the entrenched Void soldiers. The Marines, using their advanced scanning technology, identified enemy positions through walls and rubble, allowing for precision strikes that minimized civilian casualties and collateral damage. Lura fighters, familiar with every nook and cranny, guided the Marines through hidden tunnels and secret pathways, catching the Void off guard and dismantling their defensive positions with ruthless efficiency. In the lush forests of Sylvana, the strategy took a different turn. The dense foliage and uneven terrain provided ample cover for the guerrilla tactics that the Lura Rangers excelled in. These Rangers, silent and deadly, utilized their camouflage and intimate knowledge of the forest to launch surprise attacks on Void patrols. Human special forces, trained in jungle warfare, joined the Rangers, bringing with them advanced surveillance drones and precision-guided munitions. The alliance between human technology and Lura's natural stealth created a devastatingly effective force. Void units, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies with sheer numbers, found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned in the dense underbrush. In the mountain ranges and remote wilderness areas, where the Void had established hidden strongholds, the Lura and human forces faced some of the most challenging combat scenarios. These areas, difficult to access and easy to defend, required a combination of aerial bombardment and ground assaults. Human dropships, loaded with heavy ordnance, targeted known Void strongholds, softening them up for the infantry assaults that followed. Lura scouts, agile and sure-footed, navigated the treacherous terrain, marking targets and identifying ambush points. Human Marines, equipped with climbing gear and portable shields, advanced steadily, neutralizing fortified positions and driving the Void from their mountain hideouts. The cooperation extended to the depths of the Cerulean Sea, where Lura's sleek and silent submarines hunted Void aquatic vessels. These bioorganic nightmares, resembling monstrous jellyfish, prowled the ocean depths, their tentacles lined with deadly spines. Lura submarines, equipped with advanced sonar and torpedoes, stalked these creatures with the precision of seasoned predators. Human naval forces provided support with surface ships and aerial drones, creating a multi-layered net that ensnared and destroyed the Void vessels lurking beneath the waves. As each sector of Lura Prime was systematically cleared, the Joint Command Center received continuous updates, their maps slowly shifting from red to green as territory was reclaimed. The fighting was intense and the losses were heavy, but the combined resolve of the Lura and human forces proved unbreakable. The Void, despite their initial advantage in numbers and ferocity, began to falter under the relentless pressure. Their decentralized command structure, once an asset, became a liability as their forces were cut off and isolated. In the heart of the effort, Admiral Bailey and Elder Orion maintained a close partnership, their strategies and decisions reflecting a deep mutual respect. Bailey, drawing on his vast military experience, adapted tactics to the unique challenges of each terrain, while Orion provided insights and knowledge that only someone native to Lura could offer. Their synergy became the backbone of the operation, and their leadership inspired those under their command to fight with unwavering determination. Finally, after weeks of relentless combat, the last stronghold of the Void on Lura Prime was identified in a remote, heavily fortified mountain range. The combined forces launched a final, all-out assault. Human bombers pounded the defenses from above while ground forces, supported by artillery and armored units, advanced from all sides. The Void, cornered and desperate, fought with a savage intensity, but the outcome was inevitable. The fortress fell, marking the end of the Void's presence on Lura Prime. The victory, hard-won and costly, was a testament to the power of cooperation, and the indomitable spirit of those who fought for their home. As the smoke cleared and the last echoes of battle faded, the people of Lura and their human allies began the arduous task of rebuilding. The alliance, forged in the crucible of war, now looked towards a future of peace and cooperation. The combined efforts to eradicate the Void had not only saved Lura Prime but had also laid the foundation for a new era of unity and mutual respect between their civilizations. With the final eradication of the Void from Lura Prime, a sense of hard-won triumph settled over the planet, marking the beginning of an arduous but hopeful process of rebuilding. The devastation left in the wake of the conflict was immense. Entire cities lay in ruins, forests had been scorched, and once thriving communities were now ghostly remnants of their former selves. Yet, amid the rubble and ruin, there was a collective resolve to restore what had been lost and to honor the sacrifices made. The Joint Command Center, which had buzzed with the urgent chaos of wartime coordination, now turned its focus to recovery and reconstruction. Admiral Bailey, Elder Orion, and other key leaders convened to map out the future steps for rebuilding Lura Prime and solidifying the newly forged alliance between the Human Systems Alliance and the Lura. One of the first priorities was to ensure the safety and well-being of the survivors. Medical teams, composed of both human and Lura doctors and nurses, worked tirelessly to treat the wounded, and provide care to those traumatized by the conflict. Field hospitals were established across the most affected areas, offering not only medical aid but also psychological support to help the citizens of Lura cope with the horrors they had endured. The Marines, once engaged in fierce combat, now assisted in humanitarian efforts, distributing food, water, and supplies to those in need. Their presence, once a symbol of military might, now represented hope and solidarity. In the cities, efforts to clear the rubble and begin reconstruction were quickly underway. Engineers and architects from both civilizations collaborated on rebuilding plans, incorporating advanced human technology with Lura's unique architectural aesthetics. The goal was not merely to restore the cities to their former glory but to create something even better, a testament to the resilience and unity of the two peoples. Buildings were designed with enhanced defensive features, ensuring that Lura would be better prepared for any future threats. Green spaces and community centers were prioritized, fostering a sense of community and healing among the residents. The rural areas and forests, scarred by the conflict, also received significant attention. Environmental specialists and ecologists from both the Human Systems Alliance and Lura worked together to rehabilitate the land. Reforestation projects were initiated, with a focus on restoring the natural beauty and biodiversity of the Sylvana forests. Sustainable farming practices were introduced to help local farmers recover and thrive. The collaboration extended to the Cerulean Sea, where marine biologists studied the impact of the conflict on the aquatic ecosystems and developed strategies for restoration and conservation. Central to the rebuilding effort was the establishment of memorials and monuments to honor those who had fallen in the defense of Lura Prime. In the heart of the capital city, a grand monument was erected, symbolizing the bravery and sacrifice of the Lura fighters and their human allies. The monument, a towering structure of crystal and steel, depicted the intertwined symbols of the two civilizations, surrounded by the names of the fallen engraved in a circular pattern. It stood as a solemn reminder of the cost of freedom, and the enduring spirit of those who fought for it. Education and cultural exchange programs were also initiated to strengthen the bonds between the two civilizations. Schools and universities opened their doors to students from both societies, fostering mutual understanding and respect. Cultural festivals and events celebrated the rich traditions and histories of both peoples, highlighting their shared values and aspirations. These initiatives not only helped in the healing process but also laid the groundwork for a more integrated and cohesive future. Admiral Bailey and Elder Orion continued to play pivotal roles in this new chapter. Their leadership, which had proven invaluable during the conflict, now guided the reconstruction efforts. Regular meetings and discussions ensured that the strategies and policies implemented were in the best interests of both civilizations. Bailey, with his strategic acumen, focused on strengthening the Alliance's defense capabilities, ensuring that Lura Prime would never again face such a threat alone. Orion, with his deep connection to his people, emphasized the importance of maintaining Lura's cultural identity and values amid the rebuilding efforts. The Alliance extended beyond just military and humanitarian efforts. Economic partnerships flourished as well, with trade agreements and joint ventures benefiting both civilizations. Lura's advanced technology and sustainable practices complemented the human expertise in engineering and industry, leading to innovations that propelled both societies forward. The collaborative spirit that had been born out of necessity during the war now blossomed into a thriving partnership, driving progress and prosperity. As the planet slowly healed, so did its people. The scars of war remained, but they were now interwoven with stories of bravery, resilience, and unity. The children of Lura, growing up in a world rebuilt from the ashes, were taught the importance of solidarity and cooperation. They learned of the heroes from both civilizations who had stood together against the darkness, ensuring a brighter future for all. These lessons, passed down through generations, cemented the bond between the Human Systems Alliance and Lura, creating a legacy of friendship and mutual respect. In the quiet moments, as the sun set over the newly rebuilt cities and the forests began to flourish once more, there was a sense of profound gratitude and hope. The Alliance, forged in the crucible of battle, had not only saved Lura Prime but had also created a foundation for a future where differences were celebrated, and challenges were faced together. The victory over the Void was a testament to what could be achieved when disparate civilizations united for a common cause. It was a promise that no matter what challenges lay ahead, the combined strength and spirit of the Human Systems Alliance and Lura would prevail.